Hey folks, thanks for tuning into the BAM podcast. I am your host, Mike Lafferty, and we are here with RPG artist Jacob Blackmon for a drawing and chatting session. How you doing, Jacob?
Hello, I'm doing well this evening.
Sweet. And here is our intro music. That assures you, gentle listener, that you're now ingesting a high quality, high production value, artisanally handcrafted podcast. So enjoy. I think I'm just going to start doing this whole whisper talking thing like they're doing on NPR. Make it sound more important.
Well, those new all the new microphones are so sensitive. It's easy to just talk in the slightest tones, and they can hear anything you're saying. It used to be that you had to speak in these dramatic mannerisms because the microphones wouldn't pick you up otherwise.
Yeah.
It's also why they spoke as they did in old television shows, and these days you get a lot of whispering in television shows because the audio equipment can pick up in just the slightest whisper, and to some degree that's not always a good thing. Because I know a lot of people who are hearing impaired and have a lot of trouble with all the whisper talk in modern television shows. They have to turn on closed captioning because they can't hear what the people are saying. So keep that in mind, television producers who aren't paying attention to this tiny, tiny podcast. Hello, Michael Mendoza.
Michael Mendoza as a viewer. We're huge. We're the big time, baby. we have a huge following among TV and entertainment creators, and good to see you, Michael. Thank you for turning.
I wish we had a huge following among television and internet creators. That would
know.
Please, if you are a television or internet creator, sound off.
Man, we're so big. We're like influencers, Jacob. I mean, they're going to cancel us on Twitter next week for being jerks to people. It's going to happen. I can feel it.
No. We try to be good people.
They'll have all these unflattering pictures of us wearing way too much eyeshadow. Oh, sorry.
I don't think I have worn makeup to any of these episodes. I come unshaven. I am one of the most unkempt Banff producers you will see. But you're not here to listen to us talk. You're here to watch me draw. So let me get all this set up.
And now, gentle listeners, we witness the veritable man yeti, Jacob Blackmon, as he prepares to create his art for your amusement.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna have to make that into a Superpowered Legends hero. Man Yeti.
And here it is, art.
Okay, so recently I have been inspired by the imminent release of Wizards of the Coast Spelljammer, because I loved the concept of Spelljammer. That is, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, that is space adventures in a fantasy setting. So it's alien starships and fantasy sailing ships in outer space, having adventures and all that implies. And so I've been doing a lot of stock art and art in preparation for such a thing. And today's subject follows along that line. There is a very popular race among Spelljammer that are called the GIF. That is not to be confused with the GIF. Yeah, it's like that. But the GIF are hippo folk. And while we can't use GIF in our own games, we can certainly use hippo folk, because anthropomorphic hippopotamus people can just show up anywhere because hippopotami are in the public domain. Aren't we lucky? So Today's subject is going to be a hippofolk spellcaster for a fantasy in space game. So,
Michael Mendoza says, how come it's not pronounced Jiff? A little internet humor there.
Because it's not. I don't know.
Oh, Steve Jolly, new commenter, pipes in and says, this is great. Interesting to see how the magic is done.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, Steve's, Steve from online. So,
well, hey, since people are asking how the magic is done, why don't you tell them what kind of tools you are using right now?
I am a general user of Adobe Photoshop, and I have access to another art program that I've unfortunately just never taken the time to get installed or play with it. It's called Mega Studio. I really need to play with it because I understand it has a lot of really good comic themed features that are some subjects that I just tend to have to struggle to create, while it has as general fonts and that sort of thing. So let's probably make the bigger hippo folk.
And I was talking on mute. So as much as it looks like to an untrained eye like mine, you are not actually drawing with your mouse, right? You got a little stylus.
No, I am not. I am not drawing with a mouse. I have a stylus pen, and I have an old Wacom tablet. It is the Syntec C15. It's a very old tablet, but the fact is, when I got it, it was free. If a friend gave it to me, and I am so happy they did, because it has entirely changed my art.
And Steve Jolly pipes in and says, it's amazing to see Jacob casually drawing with such ease. I'm so bad with proportions. My hippo folk will look like giraffe folk. And, thanks for the comments.
Proportions, yeah, thank you. Proportions are very difficult to learn. If you look at some of my earliest art, I have limbs of all sorts of different lengths. It took me a while to realize, okay, the elbows are supposed to be at the bottom of the rib cage. Then the wrists are supposed to be at the bottom of your hips, and that's the general length of arms. So general length of legs, well, that really depends on the person. There are some people who have very short, stubby legs. There are some people who have really long legs. So you can really vary there as long as you don't go too crazy. But in general, those rules of the arms apply. So shoulder to bottom of the rib cage for shoulder to elbow is shoulder to bottom of the rib cage, and elbow to wrist is bottom of the rib cage to bottom of the hips, and those will be your general good length of arms.
Wow, that's some high quality content, Jacob. You're giving art instruction.
I try to help.
Once again, viewers, you see that we are providing you artisanal, high quality podcasts here at BAMF. And hey, Sean Vera, I meant to acknowledge you earlier, sir. Sorry I didn't get to your comment. Sean Vera says, Man Yeti, sounds interesting. Sean is a longtime listener and viewer. You've been on the podcast a couple times. Good to see you in the audience, sir.
All right, now to try to get this. Now that I've got a nice body, just general body shape here, and try to get this hippo head to work. So I'm going to a different layer here. I usually try to start with the mouth on hippos because they're just so much of the hippo head is mouth. And I am looking at a reference on my other screen so I can try to get the proportions correct. So don't think that I'm just doing this willy-nilly. No, I am looking at an art reference so that I can make sure I'm getting this right. Bring this down a bit. Oops.
You ever watch Gladiator movies, Johnny?
Yes, I've watched many Gladiator movies.
So, you ever see a really active hippo? No, here's why I ask. The Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, Colorado Springs, is just in terms of elevation, it's a lot higher than most other zoos, and it's a lot cooler. And they usually go to the any enclosure, hippos, monkeys, lions, tigers, and they're just bored, hating life, hating you for being there, and it's kind of a depressing thing.
Mm-hmm.
When it's cooler, it's kind of amazing. They're a lot happier. They're a lot more active. Like in the gorilla enclosure, they're just swinging around. It's something to see.
Well,
and
that pretty much stems from no one likes it when it's hot.
Yeah.
And I mean no one.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure there's not an animal out there who's like, oh yes, I love the heat, except maybe lizards.
Yeah.
Lizards and snakes, but they're lizards and snakes, and we don't listen to them, do we?
Perhaps alpacas. they're mysterious. You ever look in their eyes? There's something going on there we can't figure out. But no, the hippo enclosure is amazing because they run around and they got these huge deep pools, and they drop down at the bottom and come right back up, and it's they seem to be enjoying themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I just very struck by it because, like I said, usually you go to the hippo enclosure at the zoo and it's sad. But,
yeah.
Wow, I am amazed by how quickly you're putting this together, man.
Well, like I said, it's easy when you have a reference. So it lets me know where to put things and what to do, and always check your references, because I have tried to draw animals by hand and they look generally like a cat or a snake, but I can guarantee you there is a huge difference between pictures I've drawn of cats and snakes with no reference and pictures I've drawn of cats and snakes with reference, and it's a huge, huge difference. So one of the things I'm doing with the hippo folk of my stock art is in the general Spelljammer universe, in its oeuvre, they have a very upperclassman British kind of empire. We serve the royal fleet, and that doesn't make sense to me, because they're hippos. Shouldn't they, I don't know, have more of a culture from where hippos come from? So the culture that I am basing my hippo folk is more of a Middle Eastern, Egyptian, Persian, Turkish Empire kind of thing.
Okay. I was about to say Wakanda, but maybe that's too geeky.
Wakanda is not so bad. I love Wakanda.
Well, it's just not real, is all I'm saying.
That is a darn shame.
We have another viewer. Hey, feel free to say hello in the comments. Love to talk to you. I love the way you get this 3/4 perspective, and it just looks right, man. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
So do you work up character details before you start drawing, or you just kind of get a general concept like a GIF spellcaster and just go from there, see where the direction takes you?
Well, I kind of knew that I wanted to have this real good spellcaster vibe to this, and nothing says spellcaster like I'm in like mid-flight, or I'm probably going to do like a like here. I'm going to put in some magic circle that she's standing on with some runes and stuff all along it, serving as a magical platform or something. But yeah, I wanted something interesting and dynamic that she was doing to showcase ultimate magical power. And it's sometimes simple enough to just have them do the Doctor Strange pose.
I was fighting very hard not to make a Doctor Strange reference. I appreciate you taking the pressure off me.
But I wanted something a little more fun and dynamic than just the standing there gesturing. So I like this nice little flying stepstone.
Looks more like an action pose, or maybe a splash page from a comic, as opposed to
exactly. I like having the injection of action into. She should have 4 toes, not 3.
I like that too, because sometimes, especially stock art, can sort of start to look like a lot of album cover poses, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. And that's always been the problem that I've kind of had with, especially the old fantasy art, and nothing, just not to badmouth the old artists, because they are amazing, but I tend to look at the Larry Dixon art, and it's like they're just standing there. They're not doing anything. They're just standing there with a dragon flying in the background. It's like, fight the dragon. This is supposed to be a game about adventure. Be adventurous in the art. Do something fantastical. I like the fact that there's much more fantasy action in the modern art.
Well, I mean, in fairness, like in the older editions, there were some pieces that were clunkers, not to call anyone out, but the old books, even just some of the black and white marginalia stuff, there was usually fighting or creeping or exploring or more dynamic poses than. So there was a period there in the 80s and 90s where stuff kind of crept towards more static. Hey, look, there are people wearing fantasy clothes. God love them, Brom. I love so many of his covers, but that's sort of the epitome of. It looks like an album cover.
Yeah. Brom had some very posy art. I love Brom stuff. He was gorgeous stuff. Dark Sun was my jam for a while there, but yeah.
So somehow when I was talking just now, Jacob, it sounded enough like I said the name of my smart device that she started talking to me.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
I won't say her name because she's always listening. But yeah.
Alexa, buy porn.
She's always listening, Jacob. She's going to have follow-up questions to that.
Now there is one of those devices in the game room at Owen and LJ's place. So whenever I go there to play, I have to be very careful with my jokes, because otherwise, Alexa might be buying some stuff. All right. Let's see. So we got a nice, cool, flowy outfit here. I want a headdress, so let's take a look at some Egyptian-style headdresses, because I love me some Egyptian fantasy.
So, I think they're going to cross over between the Star Frontiers setting and the Spelljammer setting.
I could see it. I could easily see something like that. But we'll just have to see who ends up with that license. Because as far as I know, it should be in WotC's hands.
I think there's a lawsuit, but I'm pretty sure that the corporation owned by competent people with millions of dollars are probably going to win that lawsuit.
Yes.
And the crazy folks in Wisconsin are most likely not going to win that lawsuit. So
I have a feeling you are correct.
But, so I found a lot of art for Spelljammer. We're calling them gifts, right?
Yeah.
The hippo folk. And wow, you are right. A lot of these look like they're right out of Space 1899.
Yeah.
Very colonial British. I don't know if I could share these without.
But my point is, let's get some other cultures out there.
Yeah.
There's hippos do not come from Europe, so why do they have a European-like culture in this game? Let's get them with a cool culture that is not white centric. Give them something of their own.
Well, in fairness, the idea of hippos with posh upper class British accents is kind of hilarious.
Yes, but and then we get fun characters like Towerette, who are just being their awesome hippo selves, and everyone loved Towerette in Moon Knight. I didn't hear a single person say, "I fucking liked her." I heard, "Oh my god, Towerette was awesome." Yeah, see?
And Steve Jolly agrees with you. So, yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, I love doing stupid British accents. And the idea of a big savage-looking hippo sounding like Queen Elizabeth tickles me. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
D&D, especially back in the old days, had a very European focus. There were a lot of it makes no sense. Why do dwarves have Scottish accents?
When they should have Norse accents, because dwarves are Nordic in legend.
Yeah, that should be Scandinavian. So
they should sound like these. We're the fearsome dwarfen warriors. We fight the evil drow and the sphere of Neblin.
I was a few years ago, before I got wiser and calmer and quit messing with people online for my own petty amusement. Somebody was asking for advice on what accents to use for various fantasy races, and I was like, well, if your elves don't sound like they're from Philadelphia and your dwarves don't sound like they're from Appalachia, you're just doing some retrograde bullshit. Frankly, you're just borrowing from what everyone else has done, and just hang it up. Okay, I'm a nicer guy now. I don't do that kind of stuff. Once upon a time. Are we ready for coloring?
I think we're ready for line work now.
Okay.
Because that was all the rough draft stage.
All right, so that's what we might call pencils in a comic book game, and now we're going to start inking.
Now we're going to start inking, and this is the area where sometimes my work looks a little slapdash because of how I ink. But yeah, for those who are watching this, feel free to ask me questions, because I tend to lose myself in the art, and I have no idea what time is going by, or the fact that I should, pay attention to other people, that sort of thing.
Fair enough. When is Spelljammer coming out anyway?
I believe that is sometime in October.
Okay, and so your plan is your plan's got a lot of stock art out there, so that when people start doing third-party stuff, you'll be well positioned to provide that. All right, cool.
Exactly.
And let's say folks are looking at your stock art in this podcast and saying, "I need me some of that." Rogue Genius Games is who will be selling this.
Yes.
Okay.
And if it is not out by the time you happen to need some Hippo Folk stock art, you can contact me directly, and I can provide you with a stock art license.
And Sean Vera pipes in and says, "Fall 2022 if there are no delays." Well, thanks, Sean. And it's Wizards. There can't be delays, right? Jacob, I was making jokes earlier about us having too much eyeshadow on. And being canceled for being jerks. You haven't been following the Twitter drama, have you?
Apparently not. What Twitter drama?
I won't say their names for fear they might appear. A couple of well-known streamers / influencers have been repeatedly outed by freelancers, tattoo artists, and various people who've dealt with them as just being horrible, horrible folks. And
well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you never know what people are like behind closed doors.
Yeah,
I try to present myself as well as I can, but sometimes people will need to have that facade.
Yeah. There's a lot of freelance reviews in RPGs, and it's unfortunate, but I just tell if people ask me for advice on getting into the industry, I'm like, you have to expect this. Contracts are nice, but unless you have the money to sue, it's really just a document for getting everybody on the same page. So, expect the kind of behavior until someone proves to you they're not that kind of person. Be prepared to walk away and, publicly talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And comment from Sean Vera. Jacob, wondering if you find digital inking easier or harder to go with? Harder to go light or dark when needed?
Honestly, I find the digital inking far easier because there are times where I've just messed up entirely on a piece, and there's this squid. I try to draw a line, but it's just it goes all over the place, and there's nothing you can do about it except white out, and the whiteout doesn't look good. Whereas with digital, I can entirely remove the offending squiggly line and have it look pretty much generally how I see it in my head. So that is a nice boon of having the digital tablet.
I'm going to ask you a very simple question, and it's probably a stupid answer, but I never really understood. I don't know. I get why you have a rough draft phase when you're drawing, but it I don't know. It seems like you could save a lot of time by just inking initially.
There have been times where I've done that, where I know I have exactly pretty much what I have in mind, and I've just put that down. Okay. But sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes you need the rough draft stage because you kind of know what you're gonna do, but you're not sure exactly where all the lines are going to be. So you want to make sure you have that stage to get everything where they need to go. before you finalize everything. And that's what the rough draft is for. Plus, you can, make all the changes and alterations in the rough draft stage that are nice.
Fair enough.
And I know fingerless gloves are not probably part of the general uniform, but I think they're cool, so fingerless gloves. I have 80s nostalgia for fingerless gloves.
I am right there with you. Before I forget, Steve Jolly has a question.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is it using the digital tablet with you doing your art? Is it easier or harder than just using a mouse?
The digital tablet is much easier. Using a mouse, I've tried drawing with a mouse in the past, and like I said, you're the art is on the screen, and the tablet or the mouse is down here, and you're trying to get the line looking right. Here, let me give you an example. Let me switch and use the mouse, and because let me save what I got here, and I'll show you what I mean. I can try to use the mouse to get this looking how. Okay, this is now me using the mouse. Where's my cursor? Cursor, there we go. All right, trying to go where we had left off. Oh, Jesus. Help me. Oh, God. See? Look how terrible that is.
So
I am trying to follow the lines that I had set with the rough draft. And no, it's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's me trying to use the match. It's just trying to put down 2 lines. Absolute garbage.
So,
plus, the great thing about, you see how thick these lines are? Whereas if you use the stylus, there is pressure control. I can make the line very thin, or I can make them super thick based on how much pressure I'm using. So that is another benefit of the stylus and digital tablet.
And Sean Vera again says, ever try it with trackball? Using trackballs for the last 10 years, not for drawing, but instead of a mouse.
I like trackball mice, but no, I have not done trackball mice for illustration. So that is something I have not had any experience with. And dead air, absolute dead air.
What are you saying?
I'm saying dead air.
Dead air. Well, I was just watching his roster. So,
That's cool.
are we tempted to go with a Doctor Strange type of cloak here? Or are we going for more of a
I'm
trench
kind
coat?
of doing like a later Neo coat from like Neo from the second movie,
Hmm.
where he's wearing that really nice coat that goes down the body and then flares out at the legs.
Okay.
I like the look of that. There was an Asian president who wore that. It's been a while since that movie had happened. I forget who it was who made that look popular at the time. But there was an Asian president or prime minister who was wearing that particular outfit, and it looked really cool. So yeah.
How much practice did it take you to get good at drawing fabric?
Quite a bit,
Yeah.
because there have been in the past. There have been times where my fabric was pretty much just looked like superhero costumes, where I would just draw muscly people, and it would pretty much just be different shades and colors on muscly people. And then there was a period of time where I was like Rob Liefeld, where it was just lines everywhere, folds and creases, and it's like and then I learned properly fitting clothes don't have all those lines and creases. Properly fitting clothes are nice and smooth on the body. There are creases at joints, as people move, but otherwise they generally lay flat and smooth. So if you're going overboard with the creases, you should only really be doing that during action shots, and not don't go too heavy with it, just on the joints and areas like that. So, and I figure when you've got things like space age materials, like the hippo folk here would be using, you're really not going to be having much in the way of too many creases and stuff. So you also have to keep that in mind of what era are we working with.
Apparently, it's mid-80s, judging by those gloves.
Well, it's certainly 80s inspired. Like for instance, if you look at like all the old Shadowrun and Cyberpunk art, it was, you can tell they were envisioning 80s future.
Yeah.
They didn't put people in clothes and styles like we would have now, or clothing styles like you would see in cyberpunk movies that are popular on television now. They put them in 80s styles, how they might go a little more in the future. So yeah. All right, so yep, I think we're all done here.
On to the coloring phase.
And now on to coloring. So let's be sure to save this work. I cannot stress, save work often. As when you think about it, save. Because if you don't, there will be a power flicker and you will regret it.
It'd be nice
Or-
if there was some kind of autosave function you could enable,
Yeah.
like every 5 minutes
one
or
of
whatever.
one of those Windows updates that disturbs you in the middle of work. That happens sometimes, and you've lost who knows how much work. I've had that happen more than once, let me tell you. Okay. I'm going to make another group here for special
So we
effects.
color with layers, right?
Yes. I love using layers because you can draw on a certain layer and not have it affect the other layers. And layers are how you get special effects done. Let me tell you. So let's see. We're going to make some magic circles here. We're going to make them all nice and pretty. They're going to be a little blurry on the edges so they look like they glow. Let's make that a little bigger.
So these are the Doctor Strange circles, if you will.
Yes. And remember, circles look like ovals when they're on the side.
Sean Vera says, often a truism for everything on a computer. Recommend disabling Windows' ability to reboot on its own and having a UPS on all computers. No, that's a good idea. As well as having some kind of external drive to periodically back things up to, in case your main hard drive gets fried or if you have to deal with ransomware.
And want to know how to do runes, magical runes? You don't have to write magical runes. You just have to be good at drawing squiggles. And look, magic runes.
You're pulling back the curtain a little too much there, Jacob. I like to think you were going to pull out a little satin bag full of little, painted rocks when, copying the exact, characters and. Yeah, a friend of the podcast, a writer in the RPG business, who I won't name, but a poor guy got hit with ransomware, didn't pay. His whole hard drive was just scragged, and he didn't like using cloud services, so it wasn't backed up to Google Drive or Dropbox or any of that stuff.
That sucks.
Had to go back to his notes and his outlines and recreate the whole manuscript from scratch.
Now, ransomware is just BS. And people who write it are BS. And I'm saying that on public, on the internet, knowing that now they're going to target me for having said it.
Jacob, you're an RPG artist. They want to target people who have money.
True. I have nothing.
But, I work in IT, so we talk about it a lot, but it winds up your best defense is always having a good backup.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about it, so yeah.
Invest in a cloud service. Seriously, it's inexpensive.
Sean Ferris says, finally, the secret to Mystic Runes revealed. Indeed, sir, indeed. I was actually in Norway about 20 years ago. And I was hanging out at a campfire literally with some Norwegian pagan girls.
Mm.
And they got out the runes. They were going to start telling runes. And I was like, oh, well, that's pretty awesome. And I must have had a drink. I was like, where'd you get these from? And I was looking for an answer like, we carved them ourselves out of volcanic glass, or my father killed a reindeer last summer. And it's like, oh no, we bought them at a mall in Oslo next to Hot Topic. I'm like, okay, that's yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It is the real world we live in. So yeah.
Indeed. So now that I have this nice magic circle, I'm going to copy all that. I'm going to go down here, paste, transform, rotate, and now it's a stepping stone.
Oh, so this is kind of like Doctor Strange was fighting Thanos using the magic circles as stepping stones.
Exactly.
Okay. And from Sean Vera, I use both the cloud service and I have a NAS. Oh, you're a smart man. Paranoia over losing data, especially after having a couple of hard drive failures in the past. I understand, sir.
Yeah.
I had 3 SSD drives fail at a previous job, like in 1 month. And that's not supposed to happen. It's SSD. But
yeah,
some other non-SSD component in them was going bad. So, yeah, you can't be too careful.
All right. I'm trying to think of a nice color for her outfit. Probably like a nice turquoise here.
You don't think black or dark red?
I think people go to black for sci-fi outfits a little too often. I grew up with superhero comics. Mm-hmm. I like colors. I like colorful outfits. That's one of the reasons why I get Alex Agunas as a repeated customer. He loves my color palette. Because he kind of gets tired of seeing all the fantasy and sci-fi art with everyone wearing black. He likes colors. I like colors. So we work pretty well together.
I've been watching a lot of Star Trek. Just when you mentioned that particular color, I was thinking, science staff or medical staff. But that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice. And yeah, Star Trek is definitely one of those inspirations for magnificent, colorful uniforms. I like the Star Trek uniforms. I wish they'd stop changing them all the time because there was a period of time there where it was like they changed. They had a change of uniform for every movie, and I imagine the TV series that were going on at the time were like, would you please stop doing that because we don't have a movie budget. We have a TV budget. But because these movies happen at the same time as our TV shows, it means now we have to completely alter our uniforms. Thank you for that.
It's kind of a low-key joke on Lower Decks, how different ships have different uniforms, even in the same episode. But you haven't seen Strange New Worlds yet.
I have been watching Strange New Worlds, and I have been thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah, I have really liked the, I guess I would call it a modern redux on the 1960s uniforms.
Yes, yes. Well, one of the things I everyone really needs to understand, because they kind of set the precedent of where they thought technology would be going with the original series, and well, they were wrong. certain technologies went a certain way, and other technologies went a different way, and for that, you know, because of that, the technology scene looks different now. There are more advanced communication technology now than existed in Star Trek, the original series, you know? But that's because of the original series. Communicators are the entire basis of why we have cell phones. They're the basis of why cell phones look the way they do. So that, keeping that in mind, it's fun that certain technology has outgrown what the original series had in mind, and with the modern series, you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I like Strange New Worlds. I look at it as the fun reboot that the Kelvin universe, the Abrams movies, were trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't quite succeed.
Sean Vera saying, at my work, all laptops at the start of the pandemic have seen their SSD fail. Huh. For 3-year period, we replaced about 100. Good Lord. Well, maybe the SSD stuff has been oversold then, because, yeah, I've seen similar stuff. Not those numbers, but like I said, I've seen, a handful fail in a month when they're, not ever supposed to fail. So, yeah, Interesting stuff. So why the four-fingered hands?
Because they're alien.
Okay. It's not a comic convention where it's just easier to draw?
No.
Okay.
I could easily give them 5 fingers, but I decided to make them 4-fingered because they are an alien species, and so they evolved differently.
I think that was the explanation on The Simpsons as well.
Well, The Simpsons, they lean into that trope because they've made jokes like I'm gonna give them the 4-finger discount, and can't a guy have their skin be its yellowest? They lean into the fact that it's an animated series, and they understand it. So
Yeah.
applaud them for that.
God bless them. Can you imagine writing the same characters for 20 years?
I cannot, but I would love to be making the kind of money that would allow me to do so.
Yeah. Although I'm guessing they change writers every few years. I mean, you kind of have to.
Mm-hmm.
I know with South Park, they do writers' retreats every season or so where they get a rotating staff of different people in from season to season so things stay fresh, and they take field trips together and try to come up with new things, because like The Simpsons, they've been doing it for a couple decades now, and
Yeah. I'm gonna try to make sure my hippos look like the old hippos I've done, so I pretty much just copy the same color scheme
Oh, that's handy.
that I had from the previous illustrations.
Those guys who do South Park have bought a restaurant in my hometown.
Oh, really?
Well, the town where I live now. Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw the episode with Casa Bonita, which is
yes, I remember that episode.
that's a real place. Cheesy Mexican restaurant that has actual cliff divers,
Huh.
and like the worst food ever. But it was closed because of the pandemic, and Matt and Trey have bought it, and they're hired executive chef from LA, and they're gonna open up this year sometime. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's kind of a Denver institution. The rule has always been go for the show and don't buy the food because it'll make you sick.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, local color. That's what I provide. That's my value add on this show, folks. Jacob's the talent. I'm just like Dick Clark in the background going, so here's an anecdote. So, is it you draw your males with the big chompers?
The females have them too, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe hippos differentiate uh, between genders when it comes to having the big old tusks.
All right, all right.
All right.
You know, Jacob, this could be your chance to do that epic science fiction comic you've been dreaming of all these years. You get in
If
front of that Starjammer bandwagon.
if I had a story idea, perhaps, but while I credit myself as an excellent world builder and a decent artist, I am a okay writer. My story ideas are usually just that. I can come up with an idea and a general basic plot, but that's where I need my players to come in and help fill in those middle spots. Because who do I put in the heroic role? I don't know. That's why I have player characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's going to be the big bad guy? I don't know. Usually, I rely on my player characters to come up with some background ideas and NPCs, and I create a villain based on that background. So, you know, I I need that collaboration. I'm not great at just coming up with stuff on my own
Fair enough.
too much.
Hey, we have a question from Steve Jolly.
Speak.
Steve Jolly says, Jacob, do you do all the various colors and different layers, i.e., the green of the cloth and the gold of the headdress?
I try to, yes. That way, if I want to alter a color, I just have to go to this individual layer that color is on, and it won't affect anything else. Now, as any artist who works digitally can tell you, that does not always succeed. Sometimes you have done a lot of colors or a lot of steps on the same layer and not the layer they're supposed to be on. And that's just that. I don't want to have to erase all the stuff that I did and go back and put it on a different layer after I've already done the work. So, but I try to put each different color on a different layer. Yes.
So the border of the coat is on a different layer than the rest of the coat?
Yes. Let me eliminate the gold layer here. See?
Gotcha.
Oh, just realized I need to put in some lines on this here. There we go. Now it's even with the other side. All right. Let's see. That is looking good. That is it. I still need to do something with the fingerless gloves. kind of look along the lines of the skin tone because they're both dark colors, but they'll stand out a little more with all the shading and highlighting.
Steve Daly says, trying to catch on to some tips for the Marvel RPG layout work I do. Steve, you have my attention, sir. You're laying out the Marvel RPG?
Yeah, Steve Jolly is one of the people who's behind the unofficial Marvel superhero RPG project. You can find them on Facebook, and I work with them. I do some art with them sometimes. I've done some paper figures for them. I've done some art of some very rare and obscure Marvel villains that they can't find good art of. They have some crappy art, and I've done some better art for them, so to put into their products. But they pretty much are continuing to make products for the old face rip system, with all the modern characters and updates. So, like there isn't Kamala Khan didn't exist back when the old Marvel RPG was around, but they've done a build for her for the game, and so if you want, just look up their Defenders their new Defenders supplement, because she's a member of the Defenders, and there you go, she's right there. Gwenpool, Vision's daughter, all these new amazing characters that have come by. Hulkling and Wiccan, the Young Avengers.
Yeah. Sweet. That's pretty cool. That's a cool project, Steve. I love Face Rip back in the day. And I'm a big fan of Icons now, which has some elements of that in there.
And now, something I love to do. I like putting lights on my uniforms because it makes it look all cool and sci-fi. Start with a nice white, and I want to choose a color that's going to stand out. So I'm going to go with like a gold here.
You can find Jacob at Patreon at just patreon.com/Jacob Blackmon.
With an overlay layer, I go over that white, and now it looks like a gold light on her uniform. Bye-bye. And pretty much at the highlighting and shading stage, I usually start with the shading. Start with a nice multiply layer here, and we'll get started. This is where as you can see, it's pretty generally flat. The shading is where you're going to define the character and bring out all the nice contours. Edges, so it looks like it's a little more 3D for what is otherwise a 2D image.
And you can find Jacob on DeviantArt under the handle Prodigy Duck. You can see lots and lots of his artwork.
Yes.
As well as all of the parody snack cake ads I've had him do over the years.
And there have been many.
I get a gimmick. I stick with it.
But I like those snack cake ads. They bring me back because those hostess ads were sometimes they confused you because especially when the character in the ad is the same character as the comic you're reading. So you'd be reading Spider-Man and he's in the middle of a battle with Dr. Octopus, and then you turn the page and suddenly he's fighting Kung Fu Girl and he's throwing snack. Wait, what? What did I miss something here? Is there a misprint?
Yeah, well, I think that was by design. It made you stop and say, what? But yeah, I mean, at my publishing and print, Fan and Go Games, I try to, here's what I hate about RPG PDFs. When you get to the end, you think maybe there's more. You turn to the last page and you're just faced with that wall of text and the licensing document. And I hate that feeling. So I want to get to the end of the book and there's something kind of fun. Maybe something nostalgic or something cheesy. Hey, is this a person we know, Jacob?
Alice Doll? I know an Alice, but I don't know an Alice Doll.
Well, hey, Alice Doll, we hope you're not a bot. Feel free to ask any questions.
Welcome, Alice Doll. Yes, I hope you're not a bot. You can feel free to let me know if you have anything you want to ask.
So what is the role of the GIF in Spelljammer?
Honestly, I'm not sure. It has been long enough. I never actually got to play the classic Spelljammer, so I really don't know a whole lot about its existing universe.
Okay, well, let me Google it. Alice says she's just a fan of the podcast, so that convinces me she's not a bot. So hey, Alice, welcome. Good to have you. And frequent co-host Jason Sunday's in the comments saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. Good to see you, Jason."
Good evening, Jason.
Looking forward to playing White Star with you on Monday. I still have to level up my character to 2nd level. Have you guys done that already?
It's supposed to be 3rd level. We started at 2nd level.
We taught you how to play M&M 3E 10 years ago. Alice, you've been watching for a really long time. We did M&M 3E demo. Oh my God, so long ago. Well, thanks for watching. We really appreciate that. That's back when 3rd Ed M&M was new. God loves Steve Kensom. He's a great guy. He posted on Facebook a while back.
Steve is just wonderful.
He had a 10-year memory of the debut of M&M 3rd Ed. He posted it, on Facebook, and I was like, Steve, that's the most subtle way I can imagine for someone to announce 4th Ed. He did not like that. He was like, I'm not announcing 4th Ed. I'm like, oh, okay.
3rd edition is a fine game, and I think it has a strong following. Granted, there are still a lot of people out there who did not and still do not want to give up their 2nd edition books. I have a friend here in my hometown who refuses to play 3rd edition because they invested so heavily in 2nd edition and don't believe there's anything wrong with 2nd edition rules. And they're right. Play 2nd edition to your heart's content. It is a fine game system. I just personally enjoy 3rd edition a little more. I enjoy the streamlining they did. I enjoy the fact that, they went over with some things and said, you know what? This ability was a little too powerful. I think we need to get rid of it. Master Plan, anyone? Oh boy. If you look at Master Plan from 2nd edition, And if you try to write that up as a third edition power, it's like a 20 to 30 point power. That's how off scale it is. And you could buy it as a 1 point feat in second edition. Because depending on how well you roll, you can just hand anyone on your team a +5 bonus to whatever they're doing for the next several rounds. So yeah, I'm kind of glad they streamlined a few things there.
Oh, hey, Jason tells us he's all leveled up, and he asks, do you use a tablet, Jacob?
Yes. As I had mentioned this earlier in the podcast, I use a Wacom Syntec tablet. This is the C15. It is an old Syntec tablet.
Well, Nana, what did to get you for Christmas?
I have a wireless tablet that I can use when I am away from the computer, but here I'm, at my desktop, so I'm not using that tablet here. And the battery power on that is limited, so I'm using my regular tablet here.
I've confined the hippo folk, the GIF, in the Starjammer wiki online. I just have like a paragraph of information about it that describes them as militant humanoid hippos. It's not much. There is a lot more information on the Forgotten Realms wiki. I didn't realize they were a Forgotten Realms race.
Neither did I.
And Alice Dahl says, I'd love to get an iPad for drawing. That would be cool.
I can promise you getting a drawing tablet for any artist is a game changer. It utterly changed how I work overnight. That is a factual statement, and it is one of the reasons I've never really gone back to pen and paper. I can still do pen and paper. I do it when I'm at cons or away from home, generally, because I'm kind of afraid to lose my, very expensive wireless tablet. So I don't actually take it with me on traveling or cons, because that thing is like $2,500 of machine in my hands. So I don't take it with me. I just use pen and paper when I'm away from home. No, the wireless tablet I tend to like use in the living room when I'm here at home, but I don't want to be at the desktop, because at the desktop is in the computer room. It's not really a socializing space. I go and socialize with my roommates, and I can be in there and draw. That's nice and fun. Yeah. Besides Wacom and the Syntec series, there are other tablet makers whose tablets are just as good. I don't
Alice
know
mentions that she has a Huion. Am I saying that right? Huion Cambus GT191. But it's big, and I would need something for drawing in class. I hadn't heard of that manufacturer before, but that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, and I don't know the specific brand names off the top of my head, but I do have a couple of friends who have art tablets that are not Wacom, and they work just as fine as the Wacom tablet that I have. So there are other brands out there. There are less expensive brands out there, and they are just as good. When I got my tablet, it was really early in the drawing tablet era, so they were incredibly expensive. Like buying a new computer at the time expensive, and that was money I couldn't well justify. So having a friend gift me this tablet was just incredible. I praise their name every day.
And Alice mentions that her tablet, the Hoyan, I'm probably just destroying the pronunciation. I apologize. Says they're Chinese, basically the same specs as Wacom, but half the price. Well, you can't beat that deal.
Yeah, that's nice.
And Jason has a question. Take long to adjust using the tablet instead of paper. I find it a little flighty.
For me, no. Honestly, it took me like a maybe a couple of days to get used to uh, the smoothness of working with a tablet as opposed to the rough pencil or pen on paper feel that I was used to for decades. But once I got used to that sensation, it pretty much became second nature. And
So
I was able to get things done real quick.
I found a blog about the GIF.
Uh-huh.
Introduced in 1989 in Spelljammer Adventures in the Spacebox Adventures in Space box set, later reprinted in the Monsters Manual, 1993. Little is known as their origins, as no living GIF has ever seen or known of their home planet. So that's some odd world building, even though they have rumors about it. Among the GIF, this mythical homeworld is a perfect place full of jungles, weapons, and gunpowder. Lots of weapons and lots of gunpowder. That there are entire mountains of massive caches of gunpowder and weapons in this utopia. That if a GIF leads a good life, filled with fighting and bravery, he return to this world with its caches of gunpowder. Yeah, the guy noted in the introduction they were kind of treated as a comic relief species. So,
see, if you're going to have a dedicated species, in your spacefaring adventure, give them an origin. If you're going to showcase them that much, they should have a home world. They should be one of the major starfaring species in your setting, and they should more than likely have not only their own world, but a interstellar society.
well, apparently they didn't have magical ability, so they couldn't actually pilot spelljammers themselves, but they would often hire onto mercenaries. Mercenaries on spelljammers.
I see.
So,
nah. I'm not doing that. See, as you can tell from the very art piece I am currently working on, the hippofolk in my setting can spellcast just as much as any other species.
Well, I've got to think with the new modern take on races, I would be surprised if they limited them in that way.
Yeah. Yes, gentle viewer, in the elden days of D&D, there were some classes that were racial restricted. You couldn't be a paladin unless you were a human. You were restricted in how many levels of a class you could take based on what race you were. So I think almost anyone could be like a 20th level fighter or a rogue, but only certain races, like humans, could be, 20th level spellcasters. Elves, who are supposed to be the epitome of a magical race, could not be 20th level spellcasters. What's that about?
Alice Dahl says whack, and I have to agree. So the more I read about these guys, if what this blog is saying is true, they're kind of, whew, boy, really leaning into the comic relief aspect. I mean, not quite Gully Dwarf level,
Oh
Gander
God! Don't
level,
even get me
but
started on gully
I'm
dwarves.
there with you, man. I'm there with you. But although
Let's take an entire race and just make them stupid.
following orders and waging battle will make a GIF happy, but it is gunpowder that puts a genuine smile on the faces of GIF everywhere. The sense of ecstasy as an explosion brings to GIF is beyond measure. And yeah, that comes up a lot. They prefer to be paid in gunpowder when hiring on as mercenaries. They like to see things go boom. It's yeah. So um, I'm gonna say in this time around, they'll probably have maybe a more balanced and more even-handed write-up. I mean, I expect
Let's hope.
I'm sure they're gonna be Kender. I think they've said they're gonna be Kender in the new Dragonlance book.
Yes, there are Kender, but they have specifically mentioned they're not going to make them an entire species of kleptomaniacs.
Yeah.
They have specifically mentioned that because, again, that's just dumb.
Well, it's kind of a throwaway joke that they ran into the ground, and I get it. I do the same thing. See our earlier conversation about how I have fake snack cake ads in a lot of my books, and have been doing that for over a decade, maybe two. Good Lord, how old are we, Jacob?
Do you want me to say?
No, no, I do not. I just had a birthday, man. I don't need the reminder.
As did I.
Oh, happy birthday.
Mine was back in March. Yeah.
Mine was June 7th. So we are just about wrapping up here.
Yep. I just have a little highlighting to do, and I am done.
So let me ask you a question. If you were giving this as a commission to a client, and they said, I love that. Oh, and Alice says, happy birthday. Thank you very much, Alice. If a client said, I'd like to change the color of something you've already shaded, like, the headdress or the jacket, is it as easy as just clicking on, the jacket and going from teal to purple or green or red, or would that be a huge pain in the ass?
It's not a huge pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that depends on whether I've done the coloring properly and put everything on a separate layer. So yeah, I can usually do that.
Okay.
I am not one of those artists who are like, you don't like my vision? Oh, screw you. No, I was like, I am here for the customer. Would you like you like the piece, but you need me to make alterations based on how it's going to appear? Sure, I can do that. As
Alice,
long as the alterations you ask for are reasonable.
mhm. Alice says, I see you didn't name your layers.
No, I know a lot of people who do name their layers. It is not something I do. Sometimes I will name my layer uh, if I need to go back and forth from that layer during the creation process. There will be times where I do that, but usually I don't need to, so I don't.
And she says, bold choice. I like the gold trim around the sleeves. Is that a Star Trek homage?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I like it as a uniform feature.
Well, we've kept our audience. We actually have the most viewers right now that we've had throughout the entire hour and a half.
Woo!
We should do some more of these drawing demos. People seem to like it.
Indeed. I keep meaning to do something like start a Twitch channel, and then I, get involved with some project that keeps me from learning how I should be doing that. So,
That
it's
would
like
be great content.
I haven't studied on how I can expand my content because I'm usually so busy creating my content.
Well, your Patreon, which our viewers can find at patreon.com/Jacob Blackmon.
Thank
A
you.
lot of artists like you do Twitches or even just use StreamYard, which I could walk you through in 10 minutes, man. That'd be good
Okay.
content for your, heck, we could do these as content for your Patreon. And then a week later, put them out to the rest of the world.
Indeed. Okay, I think. Let me get another layer here. And give her some eye shine. And with that, I think we're done.
Sweet.
There we are. A hippofolk wizard or general spellcaster.
Yeah, she could be a cleric, right? Or she could be a sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a bard.
Maybe.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, hey, thanks to everybody for watching and commenting. Once again, you can find Jacob on DeviantArt as Prodigy Duck. We're on Patreon, just as Jacob Blackmon. And this has been the Banff Podcast. Jacob, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap things up?
I enjoy everyone supporting me on Patreon, but don't forget that the Band Podcast also has a Patreon. So if you enjoy content like this, please go and support them so we can continue to make wonderful podcasts for you all.
This is true.
And then we have outro music.
We do. Hang on. Just 1 second. We also have, you can buy us a coffee at kofi.com/BAMFod because I drink a lot of it. All right, outro music. Boom. And we've been the Banff Podcast. You folks have a good Saturday night, and we will catch you next time.